Hey guys, I got a few minutes here to make a new video, and I want to talk about how to draw people. This is something I've taught to children, up to teens and adults, and I want to talk about why people are difficult to draw. First of all, people are difficult, one of the most difficult things to draw, because we recognize when something looks wrong. Um, but when children draw people, they're not really afraid to say, okay, this is my mom, this is her eyes, this is her nose, this is her mouth, and then this is her hair, right? And then they make a stick figure, and then they'll make a stick figure, and then maybe they'll draw a dress on it or something like that. Now, this is what I made a video about this called abstract drawing, right? So they make shapes and abstraction without really knowing what's accurate. And with little babies, they don't really care what's accurate. 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, they're gonna say that's my mom and that's accurate. Now, as we grow, we understand that okay, this is wrong. That's not how a person really looks. Bodies have flesh. Heads are different from how we draw them. But I'm gonna give you a really really basic skeleton to draw that a lot of YouTubers will talk about this, and this is the basic one that I draw for my students. I like to think of things in boxes. There's also the method where people use circles, ovals, or beans. But this is like the really basic thing that you want to think about. There are three main parts: the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis, right? And they all connect with the backbone. So here, the rib cage might be drawn as an oval, and the pelvis maybe as an oval this way. Um, and depending on the person, these things could be different sizes. This is going to be a basic adult. They're going to be connected by the backbone, the spine, that way. Now we have the ball and socket joint here on the shoulders. And I like to represent it as a ball because the joint is a ball and socket joint. But with the elbows, some people like to draw a ball right there, but I really don't because I just draw the bend in there because the elbow is not a ball and socket joint. It is like a joint that only hinges like at a right angle like that, and you can only move your elbow one way. And it really depends on how you rotate the shoulder there for how you want to reach your how you want to reach things. Now for hands, again, you can draw it as a box, you can draw it as a circle. You just remember that you have a palm, and then you might have a thumb coming on the side, and then four fingers there. But yeah, that is an easy way to draw it. Of course, hands are very difficult, but if you want to draw, quick skeletons, that's going to be how to do it. Now, there is a ball and socket joint also at the hips. Now, the real pelvis looks something like this, where I think I may have made a video about this before, but the leg kind of hinges out that way, and you get the greater trochanter, which is the outside of the femur right there, the thigh bone. But I like to draw it just as a circle, just to keep things simple. And the same thing, I will draw two lines here. Sometimes it could be a straight line going up and down, but two lines for the femur, and then the bend in the knee, and then I like triangles for the feet. Now that is my basic body. And here it would be like similar thing where I would have ball and socket joints, maybe connected by the shoulder, sorry, the clavicle right there. The collarbone is what it's called. You have your legs coming out here. Now this is a very, very basic skeleton of a person, and a lot of the people I draw are going to be at different angles of this. Now, how do we go from this to this, but also make it look like a real person instead of a skeleton? Well, then we would start going in and start breaking things down, all the details. Now, why I'm showing you this first is because when you approach drawing a person, you really want to start basic with the basic shapes. And let me go over here. Sorry, this is kind of on a huge document that I like to use for my other videos, but let's bring things over here. Let's start with a head, right? I'm going to probably make another video on the head later. But if we think of it like a box this way, we're going to think of like a Minecraft person. Let's split things in half because I know the eye line is halfway up, and I know I'm going to make up my eyes right there. This is going to be my basic shape for a head, right, with a center line here. Now, the real shape of a head is going to be, it's going to have a skull like that. It's going to have a front plane, and then we're going to split that front plane in half, and then around here we're going to have the ear. Now, I can explain this more in future videos, with more precision, but I'm just showing you how the basic shape translates into the real shape. It's going to be something like this. Right? But if we can start going from here to this by just cutting things out. So for example, the main structure of the head you want to think about is a cranium. right? That is that big structure right here, this big circular oval structure. It's going to be your forehead. And we can think of it like this. So I'm going to start breaking this square guy down. Let's actually do it from the front view first. That's easier. So we have this square guy here. So from the front view, it's going to be this cranium. The reason we always draw a circle, I know every single how to draw a face video will tell you how to draw a circle first, but what it represents is that big mass of the skull right there. That's going to be our cranium. And then we split it in half, get your center line, and then from the side of the head, we're going to bring the jawline down. And this really depends on the person, if they're going to have a long jawline or if they're a child, maybe they're going to have a short jawline, you know, like this, and with rounded cheeks. But for maybe an adult male, we might have a long jawline, a more pointed chin, something like that. And then we'll cut the head in half, about right there. Relative to the cranium, it's like near the bottom of this circle. And then we're going to have our eyes right here in the middle. Okay, so this is like one of the basic setups. But again, I would recommend everyone practice this skeleton. And then every single part we're going to break down into more and more precision. But the thing is, going back to this representative, this abstracted drawing of someone's mom right here, based on what we have, you know, I can start based on that simple drawing that we had earlier. I can make a more accurate head of a mom. And let's say her hair is something like that. Something simple, right? I'm keeping things very simple. And the thing is, with drawing people, you don't really need to get to realism. You don't have to. Knowing the realistic shapes of the parts helps you a little bit, but you don't have to know all of it. So now I know that she's going to have a rib cage here. Maybe let's do a circle. It's very easy that way. Wider hips right here. And then I know I have my shoulder blades right here. I mean, sorry, not shoulder blades. The ball and socket joints of her shoulders right there. And I know I'm just going to bring her that way. And then the leg's going to bring right here. Right? So now, you know, based on what you know, like I could just keep it really simple. I know this is going to be the dress. And then just start, you know, getting an outline on there. And now the length of these things is based on proportions that I'm already familiar with. But really, you just start fleshing things out. I don't really need to know the super perfect anatomy to start fleshing this out. And I'm just using the construction lines that I made. And again, I'm teaching you guys this with very little description of what the actual parts are named, what they look like. I'm just giving you a basic skeleton and fleshing it out. And I can have my thumb right here, 4 fingers. We know that the pinky is shorter. And again, this is really rough, and we're going to keep it rough. We're going to keep it simple for these lessons until we start breaking down things into more complexity. But really, you want to start drawing people, just keep it simple. Just practice this basic skeleton, and you will know when things look wrong. It's a disadvantage, but also an advantage of us being so familiar with human bodies, is that we know when things look wrong, and we also know when things look right. So if you just keep playing with your lines, eventually you'll figure it out. With just play. And I encourage people to experiment and play. I'm going to start erasing my construction lines here. Experiment and play, and you want just a lot of reps. You just want to do it hundreds of times. Well, start with like 5 times. Start with 5, you know. I'm going to encourage hundreds of times and thousands of times because that's how many times I've done it. But the more you do it, the better you'll get. So I'm talking about the philosophy and the approach to drawing right now. And the simplicity of it rather than the specifics right now, because that's what we need to think about to get started out. And I have someone's mom right there. So that's, you know, a woman. Doesn't have to be someone's mom. So that's right there. I'm going to continue with these lessons in the future. I hope that was helpful to you guys. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible, and we're going to start simple and get more complex as we go. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.